Gentlemen, install your flags for the Mercedes S-Class S-Guard 680 with a 6-liter V12, 612 horsepower under the hood. But what's even more important is the protection class VR10, because follow me, it's not only you can install some nice flags here in the front for statesmen and so on. Here, these doors here are so heavy they need electric support, and they're still heavy. And the reason is, it's not only what's underneath there, but also especially here, these windows, look at how thick they are. And we have to be really careful, because anything that comes between this will be crushed. And this is intended in this case, because there might be someone intervening from the outside and it's like, you know, I don't want to have anything to do with you. And then you just close the window, and if someone would try to reach in there, yeah. So really have to be careful. Everything will be gone that is between there. And even more impressive is it actually in the rear, because this rear door is of course even wider here for that Mercedes S-Class. Also the recent facelift, and here look at that, how thick that is. And this has the highest vehicle protection class for the civil vehicles, actually, with VR10. And everything above that would be military grade. And what they do here, they have like a special, multiple glass layers, then, with polycarbonate at the very end. And this is then really bulletproof, and not only bulletproof, but even proof against explosions. And the outer chassis is usual aluminum, but on the inside then you have ultra high strength steel to be also have like the same protection also in the lower area around that. Let's quickly take a look under the hood, by the way, because it's a very heavy car, 4.5 tons, and then you actually need a very strong engine that this one can still get out of a crisis situation or so. 8.3 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, and there we have it, the V12 then. So very rarely do we see that still with the Mercedes S-Class, but here you need all that strength then that you can pull these 4.5 tons out of a possible situation. And there might be an even more critical situation. For example, and I can get you this sample piece here. So we have special tires on this one here, and these are between 18 and 19 inch. You can see for nowadays Mercedes relations, they are more like, let's say, balloonish, because usually we see like these huge wheels, but here you need more tire actually. And this has a special Runflat feature. So developed by Michelin, and then here you can see, even if you would have been shot in the tire basically and all the air is out, it goes like this, and it has this additional rubber core here, and you can still drive for about like at least 30 kilometers with a maximum of 80 kilometers an hour that you can get out of a possible situation where your car, or probably only your car, has been shot already. But the most important thing is that you yourself don't get shot, but only the car. And you can see the recent Mercedes S-Class facelift, where you can also see the full review here, of course, on Autogefühl. It's also the base for this one, that from the exterior you cannot really differentiate it. Here also with the new front grille. Then here 5.30 meters in the length. This is the long wheelbase. It's also only available here in this very long wheelbase, so not the short wheelbase, but you can also get in Europe, and also not the Maybach longer wheelbase. It's always this, let's say, international standard wheelbase, which will be also used in the US market. And 4MATIC, always with all-wheel drive, always with a rear wheel bias, and also this new star pattern design that comes with the S-Class facelift. S-Class Guard, then here the naming, and S680, that is then the lettering for this specific V12. In the lower part we can see, well, exhaust tips. The rear ones are on the inside, but the outer tip, let's say, is a little bit exaggerated, so to speak. And this has even more features. For example, you might think of maybe like they're even biological weapons these days, or well, in the best case against bad air. So this one has like a pressure system that it can have like a higher pressure than the surrounding, that you could even survive, let's say, when there's like a gas on the outside or something like that. So they try to think through different situations. And when I open these heavy doors again for you, you can't believe how heavy they are. That's why you need the additional actuator to help you open and close it again. In general, from the inside, it is like the normal Mercedes S-Class facelift. That was also the goal, that it basically looks the same exterior and interior. You can see here this facelift has redesigned this front with a passenger screen on the right, then the middle screen, pretty large black bezels here that has been criticized also with the normal Mercedes S-Class facelift, yes. And you also have the new features, for example, this one, let's see if this one has it, but you can, for example, yeah, indeed. These are the new heated seat belts for the S-Class facelift. This gets in hot when you just close the seat belt and activate the seat heating. And then, yeah, you can have a warm seat belt while people around you just shoot your car. That, of course, sounds now funny in it, but of course, this car is built for very, very serious situations, and they don't really disclose their customer list, of course, to have maximum protection there, and they also don't publicly announce pricing and so on. But you can estimate that you have to pay at least 500,000 euros to maybe up to 1 million euros if you have additional equipment with it. It's of course also available that you have like the blue lights and everything, that you have the official statesman use and so on. Yeah, so of course governments are one of the main customer target groups, obviously here that you can put the country flag on this vehicle. Then, yeah, and then of course then whoever needs protection with this kind of vehicle, and you got to think about it that the weight of a normal Mercedes S-Class is really half of that. So you have to think about how much goes into protection then that you can really stand on the outside and shoot at this vehicle and still be safe on the inside. As for here, seating and steering, you can get basically any trim you can also get for a normal S-Class. This case is the animal skin, but for the facelift there's also a new animal-free interior available with fabric, for example, and you could also get this one for this modern S-Class here with the microfiber cushions, for example. And the only thing they don't offer an AMG line here, so that's actually not available. They want to keep it, let's say, more in this protective, elegant focus or atmosphere. Normal seat control, and when you just sit here and don't look on the outside, you don't see it so much. It's a little bit different, of course, how the light comes in and how you see from the inside to the outside. That is a little bit different, but that's actually about it. Steering wheel control is, by the way, electric here on the left side. They have mainly rearranged it here with the facelift, with the screens. Good thing and good trend at Mercedes that they have returned here these rockers and rollers, that you have a manual set here for the cruise control on the left side, and here then for the volume, for example, on the right side.
One cool feature. You can even speak to the outside.
Yes, you can even speak from the inside to the outside.
Inside, no, there, under under this, yes. There.
There it is. So let's see.
I think you must close the door.
Let's see if you can hear me talking on the outside then. So now you should actually be able to hear me when I'm talking here on the inside, but you should still be able to hear me from the outside. And what I will do now is just shut down my own microphone. Then you should see the difference. So now my microphone is shut off. I hope you can still hear me from the outside, because Leah has now a microphone on the outside. She nods. That is a good sign. And not sure if everyone else is watching us right now and listening to us, because we are standing in front of a hotel. So people might be surprised that this car is talking now. Hello, I am the S-Class. I am your father. First people looking passing by. Yeah, that's of course how you can have a laugh as well. And the rear, you remember, this is like the standard long wheelbase, 530, 209 inches length here of the S-Class. Headroom, beautiful covering here with that microfiber here, enough headroom, and yeah, of course a lot of legroom. This is the seat as I would be driving, by the way. But on the other side, it's always very important that you also have here then the fold flat feature, because yeah, like I said earlier, the important thing is that on the inside you basically get the same S-Class experience. Here they upgraded also these rear screens here, by the way, now. If you really want or need them, you can get this one here as a 4-seater or as a 5-seater. So this here is obviously the 4-seater version, but you can also get like the standard bench here. Yeah, this takes a while here. That's why I was entertaining you meanwhile, to show you then, yeah, that you can, I mean, because usually everyday driving life in this vehicle will hopefully not be about only crisis situation, that it's just like, just in case you need it. Let me take off my shoes first, because you know, always want to be respectful, especially with property that is not mine. So, and there we go. Now we can extend it fully, and there we also have the footrest. Yeah, and then I can relax and yeah, hopefully feel even safer then. So of course it's, on the one hand we make it a little bit funny, that's also interesting, and it's of course also, you know, we are still allowed to have fun. But of course you always have to keep in mind that this vehicle is for very serious situations and to have this protection. But I hope, you know, we can somehow deliver you like the entertainment, but also then keep in mind that this is really for these very serious situations that you then actually can feel protected. And I've seen some, like when you have some vehicles with like less protection class, that sometimes they focus on the window area, because that's like, you know, where you see people on the inside and would probably then shoot on this area. But here they really said, hey, we also want to focus then on the lower area that's all the way around protected, which of course is making sense. Also, of course, costs a lot of money. That's why this is, of course, sold in individual pieces, and you really go to them and ask for it, and then you have, like, you know, personal consultation and so on, because that's clearly not just off the line. Definitely very special. And you've seen, by the way, here with the long wheelbase S-Class, one problem I have is because the seats in the front are always like really voluminous. I cannot stretch my legs here completely with 189 6x2. In the BMW 7 Series, that is actually possible. So yeah, that's maybe something they have to work on for the next Mercedes S-Class then. You also have to see that don't crush your shoes in here when the seat is going down again. Yeah, very interesting experience then here. And the only thing you, by the way, you feel is you can see, of course, that these windows are a little bit thicker. And you got to say, the S-Class has always a very silent experience, yes. And here, as soon as the doors are closed completely, you think like, wow, what is happening? It's like you're so sealed off literally from the surrounding, you almost hear nothing what is going on from the outside. But the same way I talk to the outside, you can also activate like a speaker here that I can listen to what's being talked around outside, because if you don't have that, it's so sealed off, it's so silent that someone could be standing here next to it and it's like a blah, 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 and you would hear nothing actually. We can still check out the trunk though, because let's see how much of that is left there actually. There we go. Always tough to get out there with these doors, because they're so heavy. Do we still have sound, actually?
Yes.
Yes, we have sound, yeah, because I was just shutting off my microphone for this special effect. There is, by the way, also soft close here for these very heavy doors. And then let's see, we still have 390 liters of trunk or boot space. So of course, then here sealed off everything as well. And this is then basically more or less standard, of course, the large sedan. So, and now the question is, of course, how would that possibly drive with that heavy weight? Can I do that for you here today? Maybe at a later stage. If you're interested, then tell us in the comments. And you can, of course, check out the normal S-Class driving review we did here then with the facelift. Soon online. If it's not online yet when you watch this video, you can already check out the static part.